Trish, welcome to making nose channels for your wires for your face masks with slightly drunk me. Here we go. So, I'm going to start with the shell of my lining for my shaped face mask right here. Just put that aside for a second. And I'm making the channels out of 1.5-inch pieces of bias, nice and stretchy. So what I'm going to do, let's angle this down so you can see this right here. First, I'm going to press this, just fold it in half. This is going to be the actual channel for my nose wire. I'm going to measure it at 4.5 inches. I don't mark every single one off, but just for the purposes of the video. 4.5-inch length. Cut that. Then I'm going to turn it ever so slightly in. I kind of guess just under 1/2 inch, maybe 3/8. I'm going to press that down on each side. So there's 1 and 2. So that what I have is the edges are pre-turned under so that when I go to stitch them, I don't have to fuss with them. Next step, straighten this up, get over to the sewing machine. Sorry if this is bad. I'm going to take my little shell, as I mentioned before, and this guy. I'm going to angle my camera down so you can see my sewing machine. All right. So what I'm going to end up doing, I don't pin anything when I do this, and I'm going to see if I can get the camera in so you can actually see. I'm going to open this up, right side facing up in the sewing machine. I'm going to fold my seam allowance to one side. I'm not going to bother pressing it. It takes way too much time. The pressing will come later. So I'm just kind of going to crease this down at the top portion where it's going to hit your nose. And let me see if I can get you on the other side. Whoop. So you can see this a little better. Do, 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 do. Okay. So, sorry about the bad view. I'm doing my best here. Okay. So I have my little piece here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half, like so. I'm going to place the fold on the seam line, unfold it, like so, kind of let it fall. And then, I don't know if you can see this, but I do it just by hand. I don't pin anything. I'm going to back this little piece off. The raw edge is going to get backed off about 1/8 of an inch from the raw edge of my actual lining piece. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but it's backed off. So that's going to be the line where I'm going to pin my surface pieces to. So it's important to back this away so you basically pre-grade it before you stitch. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin at one edge of my piece of bias, just with a regular straight stitch. And I'm going to go kind of close to the edge. I'm going to do a couple stitches, then back stitch. I'm going to stitch down to the corner of my little piece of bias, plunge my needle in and stop, raise my presser foot, and pivot. I'm going to pull this out and make sure that I get everything nice and flat as I go, maintaining that 1/8 of an inch distance away from the edge. Put my presser foot back down, and then I'm just going to stitch it along the edge. I hope you can see this. Again, maintaining my little 1/8 of an inch gap. Once I hit the end here, I'm not going to pivot again. I'm going to stop and do a hefty back stitch. Lift it up, take it out of the machine. trim my threads like so. So what you have is basically an L-shaped line of stitching that holds that little piece of bias in. And when I actually assemble these masks, the top portion ends up in the seam allowance. So it gets kind of folded back in and it's all incorporated so I don't have to apply it later. I go through and do this step for every mask first, so I have this nose channel prepped and pre-graded and pre-measured so I can just assemble them without having to worry about where to place it after it's done, because that's frustrating to me. And I'll show you a picture of the finished one. Let me grab one of my finished ones. So that bias channel is already incorporated into the lining, so that when I bag them out, what it does is it makes this nice little channel right here, if you can see this. Oop. Oop. So that's what it ends up looking like ultimately, because I've already kind of pre-graded and pre-measured, and that 1/8 of an inch that I backed it off forms a line for me to actually stitch and place my outer pieces on. So you can kind of get a view of what it all looks like here. So I hope this helps. It has helped me personally because it's made it faster, and also leaving this open, it forms its own little natural pocket for the wire to go in and out of. Cool. Happy mask sewing. Hope you're doing good. Bye.